afternoon and welcome. This is Lunchtime News on TV1. Before we head into our stories in detail, here is a look at headlines.
Special police operation underway to locate people who left the Western province prior to the imposition of quarantine curfew. Travelling towards Colombo on Southern Expressway limited to Kurunduga Hatakma interchange. Air Vice Marshal Sudarshana Patirana appointed as the new commander of Sri Lanka Air Force. Trump's critical stage in the US presidential election as Trump and Biden duel in Florida.
On to your lead story this afternoon. 586 people tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. The total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 reported from the Minuwangoda and Paliyagoda clusters alone has now risen to 6,313. The epidemiology unit at the Ministry of Health said the total number of confirmed cases island-wide has jumped to 9,791. While 5,660 patients are currently receiving treatment at the virus at hospitals, 4,142 have been fully recovered and discharged. So far, 19 people have died due to the virus. Today is the Vap full moon Poya day. Today marks the end of the Vas season for bhikkhus. According to ancient scriptures of the Buddha Sasana, it was on a day like today that Lord Buddha concluded the Vas retreat and travelled to Sankasapura from the Tautisa paradise. Vap Poya Day is also important since several key incidents, including Prince Aritha leaving for Dambadiva to request for a sapling of the sacred Jayasri Mahabodhi, had taken place on such a day.
Today is a day where many important incidents took place with regards to the Sasana. A Vap full moon Poya Day is an important day for all devotees.
මාසේ තියෙන වැදගත්ම දිනය කරණීයමෙත්ත සූත්‍රයේ සඳහන් වෙන පරිදි සුභර සන්තුස්සක සල්ලහුක උත්තිය කියන මෙන්න මේ ගුණාංග අපේ ජීවිතවලට වඩාත් දැඩි ලෙස ප්‍රායෝගික කරගන්න ඕන අවස්ථාවක් කියලායි මට හිතෙන්නේ. ලෙහෙසියෙන් පෝෂණය කරන්න.
We need to practice these qualities. We have to have an understanding of the severity of the virus. Lord Buddha has preached that health is the ultimate wealth. Nothing else is important if you are not healthy.
කරනවා සෙත් ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා ඔයත් නිදුක් නිරෝගීව සුවපත් වෙන්න කියලා. අද මේ උතුම් පොහොය දවසේත් අපිට කරන්න තියෙන කටයුත්තයි.
While monks who obtain Peravas end their Vas season on the Vap full moon Poya Day, other monks who obtain Pasuvas end their Vas season on the Il full moon Poya Day. Despite it being a Poya Day, a low attendance of devotees due to prevailing COVID-19 situation in the country were seen at the Temple of the Tooth today. Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa travelled to the Kathragama Kirivehera yesterday.
The opposition leader called on the chief Sanganayaka of the Ruhunumagam Pattuwa, Shastrapati, Most Venerable Kobawakadamminda Thero, and obtained blessings.
On to another lead story. Quarantine curfew came into effect for the entire Western province from midnight last night, taking into account the resurgence of COVID-19 infections in the island. Quarantine curfew will be lifted at 5 a.m. on Monday, the 2nd of November. The quarantine curfew imposed in other areas will continue to be in effect until further notice. Media spokesperson of police, attorney at law DIG Ajit Rohana said no one will be allowed to enter or exit the Western province following the imposition of quarantine curfew. This has been done in a bid to curtail the spread of COVID-19 to other districts. Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, expressed his dismay regarding the behaviour of certain groups who left the Western province and travelled to other districts subsequent to the announcement regarding quarantine curfew. The Army Commander also requested those residing in other districts to avoid large gatherings. The city of Colombo and surrounding areas seemed deserted following the imposition of curfew from midnight last night. However, essential services will continue to operate despite curfew. Operations of the dedicated economic centre in Tamuttegama were halted today based on a decision made by the Traders Association of the economic centre. PHIs in Tamuttegama decided to close down 11 shops at the dedicated economic centre yesterday. The Traders Association announced that the dedicated economic centre in Tamuttegama will remain closed until the process of conducting PCR tests has concluded. The police have launched a special operation to locate those who left the Western Province and are lodging at hotels and rest houses. Media spokesperson of police, attorney at law DIG Ajit Rohana noted legal action would be instituted against such people.
The Sri Lanka police has launched a special operation. Officers will inspect hotels and rest houses situated outside the Western Province. Yesterday we requested those residing in the Western Province to not leave the Western Province. If anyone has evaded the police roadblocks and has travelled to other provinces, we will locate them. Action will be taken against those people based on provisions of the Quarantine and Prevention of Diseases Ordinance for breaching quarantine regulations.
Police roadblocks have been set up at the entry and exit points of all interchanges along expressways. Media spokesperson of police, attorney at law DIG Ajit Rohana said no one would be allowed to travel on the expressway except for special cases. The DIG added those travelling on the southern expressway will have to exit from the Kurundugaha-Hatakma interchange. In a tragic story reported to us, an elephant which had sustained serious injuries after being shot at in the Singharajagama area in Polonnaruwa has succumbed to its injuries.
Area residents had located the wounded elephant in Singharajagama, Polonnaruwa around 10 days ago. The efforts of wildlife officers and area residents to nurse the wounded animal back to health had proved to be futile. According to wildlife officials, the elephant had been shot above its left leg. The elephant is a 20-year-old male animal with a height of nearly 20 feet. The post-mortem examination of the animal was conducted by officials of the Sungavili B2 Wildlife Office and the veterinary unit of Giritare last afternoon. The villages of Karwalagaswewa, Vijayapura and Rambawewa have been threatened by wild elephant encroachments. A herd of wild elephants which encroached on the Vijayapura village last night had destroyed a house. Residents allege the elephants that roam the Tabbova and Vilpattu forest reserves encroach on their village at night. The area residents lament lack of maintenance of the electric fence erected around the village has given rise to this threat. The residents' only request from the authorities is to repair the electric fence in order to protect them from wild elephant encroachments in the future.
Air Vice Marshal Sudarshana Patirana has been appointed as the new commander of the Sri Lanka Air Force. The appointment was made by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Air Vice Marshal Sudarshana Patirana will commence duties as the 18th Commander of Sri Lanka Air Force on the 2nd of November. Air Vice Marshal Sudarshana Patirana is a past pupil of Dharmaraja College, Kandy. He was promoted to the rank of pilot officer in the General Duties Pilot Branch on the 2nd of January in 1987. Air Vice Marshal Sudarshana Patirana commenced operations as an aerial observer of the 3rd Squadron at the China Ports Academy and was among the first 6 Sri Lankan pilots to receive F-7 aircraft training in the No. 5 Jet Fighter Squadron under Chinese mentors in 1990. He has previously served as the commanding officer of the Kafir and F-7 fighter squadrons and the acting commanding officer of MiG-27 fighter squadron. Meanwhile, according to Sri Lanka Air Force, the outgoing commander of the Air Force, Air Marshal Sumangala Dias, is due to retire on the 2nd of November.
Special arrangements have been made by the Employees Provident Fund Department of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to provide uninterrupted EPF-related services to its stakeholders.
Services of settling refunds, collection of contributions, issuing of balance confirmations, and contribution history reports and name and account amendments will be provided as follows. Arrangements have been made for the employees to pay monthly EPF contributions to any of the People's Bank branches island-wide by quoting the respective reference number given with the C form. Members and employers are requested to place all documents pertaining to name and account amendments to the mailbox located at the entrance of the Lloyd's Building number 13, Sir Baron Jayatilkamawatha, Colombo 1, or submit the documents to the nearest Central Bank Regional Office or send by post. EPF Department will respond to members and employers on the completion of the amendment requests.
The final rites of former MP Mary Larin Pereira is to be conducted at the St. Joseph's Church Cemetery in Venapur.
Former MP Mary Larin Pereira passed away yesterday at the age of 73. She was the wife of late former Minister Festus Pereira and the mother of former State Minister SJB MP Niroshan Pereira and Nishani Pereira. Mary Larin Pereira was a Member of Parliament from 2001 to 2010. She also served as a member of Northwestern Provincial Council for 13 years from 1988. Her remains are currently at her residence in Vinnapur.
The government of Japan has provided a total sum of 115 million rupees for humanitarian demining activities in northern Sri Lanka.
The grant contract was signed by Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Sugiyama Akira. The project will contribute to the efforts of the government of Sri Lanka in ensuring that mine-contaminated areas are safe, enabling the resettlement of the displaced people and enhancing directly or indirectly to more than 5,000 people's livelihoods in Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu and Jaffna districts.
And with that, we bring to a close this afternoon's edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Jayama Ratnayaka. Take care, stay safe and have yourself a pleasant evening.